Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guest is Shelley Brown. Oh, have we got a wonderful topic for you here today. We're going to be talking about being weird. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Weird girl adventures from A to Z. Now, having been somebody that's very, very weird my entire life, spent way too much of my life trying to fit in to somebody else's expectation and realized it was a lost cause. We realize that the people that are out there making a difference, such as Elon Musk, Lady Gaga, Andy Warhol, Sir Richard Branson, have all been described as weird, and it's their beautiful weirdness that has brought such innovations to us today. So why are we so judged by others for being weird? What is normal? Why do we have to be normal? Why do we have to fit into that? We don't. So we're going to be going down this wonderful road with Shelley, the author of Weird Girl Adventures from A to Z. Her book is coming out June 22nd. And we're going to find out how weird generates a wonderful personal growth. Right on, right on, right on. Who wants to be boring normal? What is normal anyway? Because if it is, it's not working. So let's join the weird bandwagon. Welcome to the show, love.
Oh gosh, that was such an extraordinary introduction, Sarah. Thank you so much. I'm weird and wonderfully happy to be here.
What is weird? What is normal? They're just words. And, I think that a lot of people that are called weird, as you've pointed out, are the creators and the innovators. And when people are full of life and exuberance and joy, somehow they're weird. What's the hang up with being weird?
Yeah, so that's such a great question. Our weird doesn't know it's weird until it's judged by others.
Right, right.
And I have a theory, and my theory is that we can all trace back a time in our lives where we were like, "Ugh, I'm weird." And it's because there was a pivotal moment when we were judged that
Yes.
something was wrong with us, we didn't belong. And so many of us take that weird, that judgment, and we own it like it's this itchy sweater that we have to wear. And so we're wearing this itchy sweater and it's hot as heck and we're sweating and we're uncomfortable, but we don't know that we can take it off.
Right.
And so the way that I define weird, it's again, the thoughts and the feelings that we believe separate us. But when we look back and we think about those things that were judged as weird, those are almost always the way that we serve others,
Yes.
right?
Yes, it's your beautiful gift of beingness, right? I mean, we don't want droids. We don't want humanoids. We want people that are going to step into their exuberance, their beautiful gift of life, and get out there and share it. Because,
Exactly.
we want an orchestra so we can dance. And so we don't want the same old boring type music, So be that instrument, find that orchestra, get up there and make the music, let us dance, lift us up, and let's be silly and wonderful and creative and exuberant, because the alternative is like a living death.
So true. And there is a first step because when you're wearing that itchy sweater and you're like, ew, I'm weird. Ew, I don't fit in. I'm so uncomfortable. I don't belong. Going from that to
Mm-hmm.
be your exuberant self
It's a
is like
journey.
telling somebody to get off the couch and go run an Ironman right now when you haven't even run
Yeah.
a mile. And
Yeah.
so we forget that. And there's so many people, messages, coaches. Our lives are kind of two-dimensional, obviously, with
Mm-hmm.
social media and there's all these how to be something and how to should, how to love yourself and how to love your body and all these things that are way over there. And my message is sort of like, what if it's allowing? And what if you never
Yes.
get over there? Because
Yes.
over there, the place between where you are and where you think you should be, I call it bullshit. And it causes suffering. It's should
That
shaming.
it is. Oh no, I'm so glad you said that. Word, you've just said a word that's my magic word, allowing.
Yeah,
Allowing. That's a
mine
huge
too.
one when you
Mine,
allow yourself to be. But the other one, bullshitting. It's this, we're prisoners of this expectation that society and history has put down upon us. But if you look at that history and society as a whole, we go, is it working? No. Is it dysfunctional? Hell yes. Does it serve us? Another no. So why are we expected to carry on that same bandwagon when it doesn't seem to be benefiting anybody? How do we break the mold? How do we get off that train? How do we become? And you become because you take that first step and allow.
yes. And if you don't take the second step,
Mhm.
allowing is better than resisting.
Yes.
It,
Yes.
it's learning
Resistance
how
is futile.
it's learning how to suffer less. And I
Yeah.
think, and it's a continuum because one day you can feel like, oh, I'm embracing and rocking my
Mm.
weird. And the next day you're like, ew, I am like so uncomfortable being me. So I think that when we know that it's fluid, the
Yeah.
way we feel about ourselves, it's so much easier to look at the bullshit and be like, sorry, I
Mhm.
don't have to be that.
No.
Sorry, not sorry. Don't
Yes.
have to be that.
Yeah, and another magic word, fluid. Now let's stop and think about that. The wind has to flow. The waters have to move. The blood in the oxygen in our body has to be consistently moving. So why are we always rushing to be stagnant? It doesn't work, right? We've got to be in flow. Now that doesn't mean you can be a breeze, you don't have to be a howling gale, but you have to get into the fluidity of life to actually understand how the flow works, how that next step's going to be, what's in front of you, how to embrace it. And even when you fall on your backside, how to get back up.
Right,
Because that doesn't mean it's the end of it,
right,
right? You just had a wobbly, right?
right.
Don't beat yourself up about it. Just get back up, dust yourself off, and go, okay, I'm not going to trip that way again.
Yeah, I mean, how many people would feel like they're let off the hook knowing this whole humaning thing is
Mm-hmm.
not all the way from A to Z?
Mm-hmm.
What if you're at B, C, D, E, F? What if you're in between that? And what if you're a Z one day and an A one day and an
Yes,
F one day, or
yes,
moment by moment? It
right.
just,
Again, it's dictation. I mean, this is one of the things I've rebelled from in my entire life because I was always taught the should. You should be this, you should be that. And I go, "Ah, but I can't.
right,
I can't do what you're asking me to do. Yes, you
right,
can. You've just got to have discipline. No, I can't. It's against my grain. It's against my heart. It's against my soul. Long before I knew what my heart and soul was really telling me, I knew the things that I wasn't meant to do or wasn't meant to be. But
right,
then there was the guilt of feeling let down, letting others down because you didn't fit into their expectation. And I think one of those first steps we have to look at ourselves is like, other people's expectations are no longer needed here. The only
right. But
permission
we
I need is
buy,
myself.
right.
Hmm.
And, but we get confused if it's others or our own because we walk around with the world like it's an Amazon cart. I'm going to take this person's idea. I'm going to take this person's should,
Yes.
this person always, this person's never.
Mm.
And I'm going to take the why can't I and why don't I and how can I and when can I. I'm going to walk around the darn cart without realizing there's a delete, a take
Yes.
later. And,
Yes.
and it's understanding choice, and that is
Mm.
really hard. so
Yes. I
hard.
mean, this show's called Choose Positive Living, and people say, but how do I choose positive living? What is positive living? Well, positive living is when you are comfortable being you in all your beautiful glory and weirdness, right? Not living by anybody else's expectation anymore. You've raised your vibration. But the big question for them, for people, is the how. And the influence, on social media. Well, this person does it this way. I have 2,700 ways of doing it right here on this podcast network. But it's not just because that person says it, you go and do it. It's, do you identify with it? Do you relate to it? Are they speaking to you? Is there a connection? It's not just blindly following everyone else just because they're doing it, they're successful, so therefore I must. No, stop putting on shoes that are two sizes too small or big.
Yeah. There's the promise of relief from our own suffering is so tempting
Mm,
that, to use this clothing metaphor, I mean, throughout my life, I tried on many different things until really what changed for me was I got so sick and tired of suffering, of listening to my own thoughts. And that's what it all amounted to,
yeah.
was realizing impermanence of these thoughts, allowing them, and realizing the impermanence. But walking around like the world is like everything outside of me is going to fix me, change me, save me, and rescue me is a horrible way to live. And the other thing is, when you walk around, my favorite saying is, when you walk around acting like life is the clothing store for your identity, nothing's
Mm,
ever gonna fit.
no, no. And you may put it on and have the illusion, I look like this, and then you get home and put it back on again and go, how come I don't look the same? You know? Where
And
did
then
that
you let that
illusion
go.
go?
Right, right.
Well, life is an inside out job, not an outside in. And, we're really conditioned to live outside. If you buy this, you'll be happy. If you do this, you'll be happy. If you have this, you'll be happy. If you're popular, you'll be happy. And this many likes, you'll be happy. Balderdash. Some of the most beautiful, innocent, simple things in life can bring out the biggest joy within you, but it is the within you. And we have to ignite our heart, soul, and spirits in order to understand what the beautiful simplicity and gratitude of life is really. That's really where the abundance lies.
Right. And even if you're not there, where you're
Mm,
not seeing the beauty, where you're not seeing the abundance, it's taking these little snapshots of the
yes.
abundance and putting together a mental photo album
Yeah.
of these snapshots. Because again, I think I come into these types of conversations remembering how bleak everything looked.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I'm over here in the woo woo with a rock star rising, kind of outlook on things.
Right, the Z. Yeah.
I'm a little Led Zeppelin with a tiny bit woo woo, but I look at it through the lens of where I used to be and think, God,
I know.
to think in gratitude and think in
Yes.
abundance and think in light and think in love, I would have been like cursing and
Mm-hmm.
turning, and maybe even turning off the episode, because I just couldn't. It was that should shaming. I can't get
Yeah.
there. I can't get
Right.
there. But being able to take those moments, like a snapshot in your mind, to build a photo
Yeah.
album. Here we are. The metaphors are coming out
Yeah.
now.
Well, it's the seeding.
Yeah.
The thing is, we've all had not just this lifetime programming, we have our ancestral programming, we have past life programming, and very often we're walking around with everybody else's programming. We haven't got any say in our own life or in our own feelings. And when you look at something, that feels good, snapshot, put it in the album. That made me feel good. That really lifted me up, snapshot, put it in the album. They start replacing all the negative stuff. So it's the
Yeah.
seeding. So keep watering it, keep nurturing it. Eventually you'll find, oh, there's something growing inside of me that feels really good. It's time to let it out.
And you said that allowing is one of your favorite words, and it
Hmm.
is mine too. And I think that reminds me of reframing neutrality as
Hmm.
joy, right? So it just taking the neutral things and contrasting them to the things that suck, for lack of a better word.
Right.
If something doesn't suck, I'm happy about that.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a moment of joy for
Yes.
me. So
Bottle it. Right.
exactly.
Put it up on that shelf that's easy reach. Right. It's very, very easy in a world of such negativity. The news, it sells fear. That's the way it controls people. It sensationalizes everything. As I said, Fox News takes a pimple and makes it a volcanic eruption. And then we, oh, the volcano. What volcano? We've been solved, this spin it goes, and they know how to press the buttons. But if we switch that off and we switch off the negativity around us and say, I'm just not going to entertain that. And, maybe I'm in a neutral zone right now, but at least being out of that zone, I'm already feeling better.
Yes, yes. And it's all about creating
Yeah.
space to just be. And amazing things can happen in that space. I mean, that's how I ended up writing my book. I was a mindfulness educator and I was focused on the hotel industry and I was traveling a lot. And obviously, March of 2020 happened.
Hmm.
I wasn't traveling
No.
and I really couldn't serve the industry that I was serving because there wasn't one.
Right.
And so I got quiet. I got quiet and I started drawing. I taught myself to draw and I never knew I could draw my whole life. And
Hmm.
it just came out. I put my stories together for my book and it's unbelievable what can happen when we create space. And I don't watch the news. I
Hmm.
check in uh, to a news source maybe once every couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
just to kind of get an update.
Yeah,
Yep.
doesn't
Yep.
change that much.
Right.
And
Right. Yeah. There's just another drama, another shooting, another this, another that. And um, we can't change, like there's so many people, I want to heal the world. I want to change the world. Well, that change comes from within you. The change within you and you becoming that light, that inspiration begets invitation. So if you want to change the world, if you want to bring peace to the world, it has first got to come to you.
yeah,
And that is a solo journey. And then that doesn't mean other people can't help you along the way with their skills and their tools and their things. And you look at them and you use them and you put them in your backpack and you take with you what you know is relevant. But the other big thing is willing to participate in our own healing. Because you heal me, you heal me, you heal me. There's three
um,
fingers back at you, darling. Three fingers. What are you doing about it? Because other people can guide you, help you, and cheerlead you and give you the tools, but you've got to apply them.
yes, and it's interesting that you're talking about this because one of the things that I am doing now is speaking on individuality in the context of work. And I have one talk that's directed at leadership about some things that they can do to help people feel like they belong at work. And
Yes.
then I also have a talk that's focused on personal growth because we come to the party with our own party favors that we've been
Mm,
dragging around, and we want work to fix us and reparent us. And even the best leaders, even the safest psychological safety, cannot give us permission if we don't give it to ourselves and take agency over
yes.
our own point of view, our own perspective, our alignment with our own values, and our weird.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to give us that permission. And it's so critical, especially now after, 13 months in quarantine.
Hmm.
People want to be themselves, but we also have to take some of our own responsibility
Yeah.
to do that. And whether that is healing modalities like mindfulness and self compassion, whatever it looks like for you, everybody has a role to play in taking agency over allowing your weird, your own individuality being who you are.
But that's part of the collective. A Star Trek metaphor, the Borg. Well, the Borg was about everybody being assimilated under one mind. That's not what we're asking for. We're asking you to be an orchestra. Be the beautiful instrument that you are. Learn how to play it and find the orchestra to belong to. Create that symphony that will resonate out in uplifting other people, being invitational to other people. But be that instrument that you are. It's being part of the collective as one beautiful vibration,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is a vibration of love, a vibration of community, a vibration of being there for one another, which this last year has been a beautiful invitation of, where we really have seen who truly are the leaders, the essential workers, who really provides for us, the essential workers, the people, the everyday people in the stores and everything else. And it's a shift in that perspective because we've put so many people up on that higher pedestal
Mm-hmm.
and we've ignored the people down there that really are, the oil in the engine. And it's time to change all of that. And we can do that because in gratitude, in caringness, in kindness, and in love, we become the solution that we need. But first, we have to be it to bring it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, not blaming everybody else.
Right, right. Everybody's on their own journey. And there's some horrific things that have been going on, or that are still going on. And the sad thing is, however much we may disagree with their action, we don't know why they're doing it. What is their journey? Is it their pain? Is it their story? Is it? And the thing is, we're all responsible for our own journey, and we can hope that our journey inspires other people to change, to shift, to pivot. But when we look at people and we look at some people as pure evil, their acts are pure evil. But what brought them to that act?
Right. I agree with you 100%. I really do. So I did want to share my weird as an acronym
Mm-hmm.
or as an acronym and an action. And I would love for you to share your word of the year again.
My word of the year is actionism, right? Because we've had the reflection, we've had the thought, we've been reviewing. Now it's time to take action. So get into actionism, and whether it's planting a seed or one foot in front of the other, just move forward.
Yes, yes, yes. So I have a talk, and part of the talk, well, I have a couple of talks, and part of it is weird as it as an action, and the
Mm-hmm.
W is welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like to put out the mat and kick it
Yes.
out?
Yes.
What is the hospitality
Mm-hmm.
that we can extend to ourselves and we can extend to allow others
Mm-hmm.
to be who they are? And I'm not talking about flying your freak flag. I'm talking about your point of view, your
Yeah.
perspective,
How
your
open you are.
values,
Yeah.
your to
Mm-hmm.
have your voice heard.
Mm-hmm.
How are we welcoming that? How are we welcoming it to our own selves?
Yes.
How are we welcoming it to others? So that's the W. The E is engaging.
Mm-hmm.
So engaging with curiosity,
Yeah. Yes.
listening,
Yes.
engaging our whole selves with presence.
Mm-hmm.
And how are we engaging with others and inviting them to engage in that way with us as well?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the E. The I is integrating.
Mm-hmm.
When we are in pieces in different areas of our lives, and some of us, like I know I did, I was this body and this mind and this heart. And so the integration of all those components of ourselves and then integrating with people who are different and
Yeah.
groups that are different to being whole integrated. So
Bringing
that's
the whole of you. Yes.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then the R is risk taking.
Mm-hmm.
What are we willing to risk to show up as
Yeah.
ourselves, even if we're afraid, even if, there's this perceived fear? What are we willing to risk? And what are we willing to risk to get out of our confined myopic
Mm.
viewpoints of what something's supposed to be like or look
Right.
like?
Yeah.
So that's the R, that's risk. And then the D is dynamic, fluidity, and that things change and
Yes.
that things are not solid and cast in stone. So cultures, relationships,
Yes.
groups of people, things are dynamic. Life is fluid, life is ever changing. So that is my weird
I love
in
it.
action.
I
Thank
love it.
you.
I love it. No, it's perfect. And I think one of the things that we forget, let's look at a child. They're living in wonderment, exploration, adventurism, discovery, right? How does this work? What happens if I do that? And it's that sense of like exploration is so intoxicating. My daughter has a almost a 12-week-old little boy who is just beautiful smile. Says daddy reads to him and sings to him. I was trying to sing him to sleep and no big smiles, coo coo coo, and it just shows you just how that little smile can light up your life. And if we are willing to participate and integrate in a sense of wonderment and take the risk, be vulnerable, right? You're asking people to be vulnerable and put themselves out there, not so protected and guarded. Be vulnerable. Your heart is meant to be shared. If it
Yes.
gets broken, don't worry, it'll go back together. It doesn't matter if it's got scars. That's called experience.
And
But
that is,
never shut your heart down. Never shut your heart down.
I, I, I think people do, and that's okay. It's part of their journey. I think that
As long as you open it back up.
take it exactly, taking
Mhm.
that risk of taking that sweater off because
Yes.
you never know, it could become your cape.
Yeah.
It could
Yeah.
happen. And so taking that vulnerability of okay, that narrative is there. I know I've got my sweater right here. I see it. I know you're there, judgment. I know you're there, self-loathing. I know you're made of fabrics of perfection and all kinds of stuff. And I see you. I just am not going to wear you.
Right.
And even if I can't throw you out,
Yeah.
I don't have to put you on.
Make a pillow out of it and have a good old conversation with it now and again. Hello, judgment. I'm so glad we're not
Exactly.
attached.
Yes, it does. And I think about that, like when I do coaching, I use the clothes in our closet as a metaphor. Like,
Mm.
what are you wearing? Whose narrative are you wearing?
Yeah.
Who bought you that outfit?
Yeah.
Is it
What are you
made of
trying to say with it, right?
right?
Because it's a form of expression of you. What are you trying to say?
Yep. But when we choose to wear other people's narratives, it's
Hmm.
recognizing whose clothing we're wearing and whether it was bought for us and whether
Right.
it was too tight
Yeah.
or scratchy or torn or
Yes.
tattered and doesn't fit us anymore.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about the itchy sweater, I'm brought up in England, and we
My
had these,
goodness, too.
wool itchy sweaters, and I was forever doing this. It's scratch, scratch, scratch.
You
Like
can call it a romper. I live with the Englishmen. Or jumper. I'm sorry, a
jumper,
jumper.
jumper, yeah, jumper, and it was just like I couldn't wait to get out of it. And then I moved to South Africa and literally went into fabrics that flowed, that were colorful, that gave you a sense of freedom and a sense of expression. So yeah, I discovered my expression then and realized I wasn't the itchy sweater anymore. Um,
Oh, beautiful metaphor.
that
Beautiful.
judgment, we listen to others, but I think kind of one of the big things that we really do have to face is our own self-judgment, our own self-criticism. And when we're going to compare and compete, we are going to find, the competition is great if it's a competition that's healthy. But when you are competing with other people because of their popularity or this or that, or we're comparing ourselves to someone else, chalk and cheese, you're never going to be that cheese, but you can be a sexy piece of chalk.
Yeah.
Own who you are, embrace who you are. If you're going to compare, immediately that self-judgment steps in. You're not enough. Your value goes down. You never feel you can fit in. And it's because you're comparing. You're not meant to compare. You are this beautiful, gorgeous, divine creature that God doesn't make a mistake. You're here for a reason. Embrace that. Don't compare yourself to someone else.
I agree. And I also think that a lot of us think that these narratives and judgment somehow go away.
I'm not.
And
Can you
they're
face them?
right, and they're so some of them might go away,
Yeah.
but there's some that have been living with us for decades. And
Yes.
so I would never say to anybody, oh my God, just let that, you know what, go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Let it go. You gotta, that's like keep calm and carry on. If that worked and we all had a sign in front of
Yeah.
us, then we'd all be fine. But it's knowing that those narratives are going to show up and knowing that you can put space between them and you and be like, all right, you keep coming back and I see you, but I'm not going to allow you to dictate how I act and how I feel about myself. Because I
Right.
think that a lot of people still think
Yeah.
that they can undo those narratives, and some of them don't go away ever.
And sometimes it's changing the verbiage. Instead of, you are so this, it's changing those negative words into something else. The the mechanics of our brain, the hard drive, is literally what makes the body work. My hand coming up is coming from the brain. The other side is programming. It's data. And a great
Right.
deal of that data is outdated. It doesn't, it would slow our computers down with all that data. It slows us down. So sometimes you do have to look at that data and go, okay, well, it served its purpose at some time, but it really needs to be deleted now. And it's having a conversation with that and go, okay, I really can let you go. I don't need to hold on to you. All right. If it comes back up now and again, you go, okay, all right. Well, what purpose are you here? You're just a memory. All right. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Right. And it's we can delete all patterns, but they are always going to be systemically there and brought up at some point. And you've got to look at them and go, all right, I see you. Obviously, I'm feeling vulnerable in that moment for it to come back up, but I'm not the same person I was then.
Right.
So therefore, you're
You're
not going to have the same
disrupting.
effect on me now. Yeah.
That's disrupting the whole neural pathway of
Yes.
thought
Yes.
and
Yeah.
reaction.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I'm 66, so I've had one hell of a lot of weird stuff happen to me through my life. We don't get to this age without, an awful lot of bumps in the road. But it wouldn't change anything. You always hindsight is 2020, and you go, oh, I wish I'd done this and I wish I'd done that. Yes, we all have that. But it's like, had I known what I know now then, I wouldn't have done that. All right. That's okay to look at it that way because anytime you're facing something similar in the future, you've already programmed in your mind that you're going to do something different. You're not going to react the same way. So I think that's another thing, is don't beat yourself up for past decisions.
Yes.
Right?
Live the journey, regret not. I have a
Exactly.
full back piece tattoo that I would never make that decision again. And people are like, seriously, this is from my neck all the way down to my bum. And people are like, whoa, that is so cool. What does it mean? And I'm like, absolutely nothing. It was like you would think that there would be this tremendous story, and it was living outside in. It was
Yes.
making this
Yeah.
my identity and not living from the inside out. And that's just what it was at the time. And yeah, it's kind of cool looking, but there's no good story around it. It's just something, just something that I did, and I don't regret it because it was part of my journey.
Exactly. I got my first tattoo at 50. I don't know if I could show it, but it is actually two butterflies. A little try and get the view in there, but it's actually two butterflies forming one, and it resembles a partnership with my children.
I love that.
So, we come together, and it also resembles the Celtic rune Gifu or Gibu, depending where you are, which is a gift of partnership. And, that gift of partnership needs to be with yourself, your heart, soul, mind, body, spirit, but also with the people around you. It's in a love relationship, you don't want to, oh, he completes me, oh, I immerse myself into the relationship. No, your strength, their strength, and when you come together, that beautiful strengths merge into something else, but you don't lose yourself along the way. right? You can't lose yourself. And that is if you're in a job, or any form of relationships or friendships or love relationships, don't lose you because
It,
you're here to be you.
oh my gosh, that's amazing. And there's a poem in my book. The original name of my book, and I am laughing when you're telling your story. I'm like, this still means nothing except that I was dating a biker. But anyway, but I wanted to share what you just said is don't lose. You were talking about don't lose you. See, the original name of my book was called The Glue is Drying. And I
Mm,
had written a poem, and it was during me coming out of the worst time in my life. I had been a long distance runner, ultra marathoner. My vertebrae collapsed on the nerve going down my leg. I was living with the man that I thought was the man of my dreams, and he began having a relationship with drugs
ah,
and became like his journey brought him to a horrible place and lots of other extenuating things. And I had written a poem called The Glue is Drying, and it started out shattered shards, broken glass, kicked in heart, fell on ass, pieces of myself I once knew, cracked and broken, held by glue. And the last line of the poem is done dying, the glue is drying. And the glue doesn't dry till you die. But what I meant is pieces of ourselves fall off. We give pieces of
mm,
ourselves away. And as we come into wholeness, we can pick up the pieces that we want, let
yes,
go of the ones we don't,
right,
put them back onto the glue of our whole. And the glue doesn't dry till you die.
right, exactly. It's ever, ever expanding. I love the word flawsome because I think we're all flawsome. And
Yeah,
it's actually our flaws that create our strength and our courage and our abilities that ignite our heart and show us our purpose. Without those flaws, what would we be? There is no such thing as perfection, but the perfection lies in the flawsomeness.
yeah.
It lies in all those pieces that you've glued back together. And it doesn't matter how many times you've been shattered. The most important thing is the coming back together, gluing
And
it together in any
yeah,
which way you can.
and that's the integration
Hmm.
of weird because living disintegrated is
No,
not
no,
a way to
no,
live.
no.
Not a way to live.
I'm a soul igniter by God's design. That's what I came here to do. And, the soul is always wanting to speak to us. It's always wanting to channel through us. It's called our knowingness. It's our wisdom. It's our guiding system. But if our hearts are completely closed off, it's got no channel to speak through because it speaks through our heart. It doesn't care if your heart is in a million pieces. As long as it can come through your heart, it will help glue your heart back together with that meaningful purpose, with that knowingness. And it will lift you up into spirit action. And your mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. That's going back to the allow, right? And if we can step out of that pain, because who hasn't gone through pain of one form or the other? Pain is here to teach us. It shows us our strength. It shows us our courage. It shows us our abilities. It shows us our direction. Because I don't know how many people I've interviewed that this happened to them, whether it's child abuse or cancer or, abuse in a relationship or whatever they've been through. They've gone through the process. They've become this beautiful light, but it becomes their meaningful purpose because people now can relate because it happened to them. There is no mistake. You're never given more than what you can cope with. And we should never undersell ourselves of how much we can cope with.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how many times we fall down. Doesn't matter how long it takes us to get back up. But that willingness to always get back up, wobbly or not, there lies that strength and that courage. And you will always be rewarded for that.
I love that. And it is so spot on. We all go through whatever it is in our journey and we all
Mm,
go through pain. I mean, I thought I would die from bulimia. I mean, I literally, and I'm saying this out loud for your listeners, I thought that I would be found dead in a pool of vomit and that my esophagus would rupture
right.
and
Yes.
I would be found dead because I practiced that disorder for almost 20 years.
Yes.
long
Yes.
time, and I really thought that it was going to be the end of me. And
Mm,
then the anxiety that I used to experience that had me literally shaking and not being able to sleep. And I'm saying this again so that if anybody's listening out there, I had such horrible anxiety and such codependency with this drug addict, and literally shook every day, could not sleep, could not stop
mm,
the ruminating thoughts. And actually mindfulness based stress reduction saved my life,
yes.
saved my life. And it changed everything for me. It was like the control alt delete on my nervous
Mm,
system that I needed. And I actually became certified as a mindfulness educator because I was like, I have got to share this
mm, mm,
with other people.
mm.
And there a lot of, I'm not going to go into open the curtains of everything that happened, but it's so true
Yeah.
that we all go through these things and they do teach us.
Yes.
And then when we get to the other side of that, it's not enough to say, oh, look what I can't got
Yeah.
through. It's when we become self transcendent and
Mm,
use it to shine a light on those who are reaching their hands out that are going to grab yours so
mm.
that you can pull them out and create that continuous crescendo
Yeah.
that happens when we help each other.
Yeah. It becomes your meaningful purpose. Everything that we go through, that we find the strength through, it's, and how many people, going silently through bulimia right now who feel they can't get out of it.
Yeah,
And, there's no longer what the root cause is. You're so caught up in the pattern of it and the treadmill of it that you don't know how to get off. And you need somebody that can say, I got off after 20 years. And it's, I want to get off. And he said, well, here's my hand. All you need is that free will. Grab that hand, pull them off. Now the work begins. But you can't help anyone until they're willing to help themselves. But,
exactly.
but knowing you've gone through it and you know how they feel, how trapped they feel,
Mhm.
that you can open up those doors of those possibilities, that there is life after bulimia, there is
That,
purpose,
yeah,
right?
that readiness factor
Yeah.
is so, so key. Like people will not open their hearts to help until they're ready.
No.
And for some people, it takes an extraordinary amount of pain. And I know I had a really, really high threshold for pain, when it came to the eating disorder, when it came to running through a vertebrae, a disc that finally
Mm,
exploded. And I just kept, caring much more about the accolades and accomplishments and what it meant to me to be this body that could do that stuff, that I just kept
yes.
working no matter what it meant. And then the job titles and the jobs that I was
Mm,
doing, I kept trying to make things look a certain
yes.
way, and they weren't fitting, and they just
Mm-mm.
kept causing me so much pain. So, you know what? Unfortunately, some of us do have a high, high, high tolerance for pain. And my wish for everybody is that you would know that you have a choice to say, I've had enough.
Yeah. As we said before we started, is that the reason I do these shows is that you're going to fall in the potholes. But what we want to do is prevent you falling in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
other people's extreme experiences may be able to catch you before you go there, or that you've fallen down there, but you have actually got to climb some way up before someone can reach your hand. They can't come down and get you.
Right.
You
Right.
have to be
Yeah.
willing to take those steps to get up, and then there's that certain level where somebody can grab your hand and pull you up. But it's not come down and get you, because what happens there, from first-hand experience, I know this, they pull you down, and now
Yeah.
you're both stuck.
Yeah.
So it's the old oxygen on your own face first, right? You've got to make sure that you can help people, and you can't help them if you're in the same space as them. You have to bring them up to your energy, your space, so that they can actually feel the difference in order to embrace the difference and be willing to take the journey to change.
I agree with you 100%. My metaphor is you can both drown in the tsunami or you
Mm,
float up to shore and try to swim. I mean,
Yes.
it's the same kind of thing. And a lot of my book is that sort of space that where I was kind of going from that real suffering to ultimately learning that I did have some choices. And
Yes.
so a lot of the stories are aching and
Mm,
they are during a time of pain. And some of them are hilarious. And some of them are like, oh my God, this pain is so bad. And I, made a choice because I learned something here. So they're really relatable and they are funny and they make you laugh. And I think it's really important that people feel related to. I sometimes don't talk about all the places where I came from because
mm,
I don't know, it's just not the space I'm in. But I think being related to and then again seeing that somebody has found that way
yeah.
to a different place is really, really critical.
We take ourselves too seriously. And yeah, there's plenty that you need to take seriously in life, but we don't have to take so seriously with a heavy heart. We can face something that's very seriously lighthearted. If we
Mhm.
inject the joy, the silly billies, it's one thing I used to do with my kids when they started getting uptight. I'd start singing opera to them. They'd beg me to stop. Right? So that would stop them from doing whatever they're doing. I'd make them hug and kiss each other and it'd be, ew, right? Uh, or just put on some very loud music and let's start and, dance and just be silly. And I think one of the things that is kind of missing in the world is silliness. I
Oh,
was
wait till you read every page of my book.
we need it. We need the sillies. Like there was a guy on the ferry yesterday when I was coming home, and he looks like he had come out of the 80s. He had the sun visor on, the kind of the shorts and the t-shirt he was wearing, and the runners that he was wearing, and he had a fanny pack on, and it looked like he'd just been bought. And he was a young guy in his early 20s, looked like he'd been bought right out of the 80s, and his whole persona was kind of living up to that, and it's like he's in joy. He's in joy instead of, ew, the 80s, but we're in the 2000s. No, it's like he's goofy. He's happy. Look at the energy around him.
Yes,
Again, take your judgment elsewhere. Tap into the joy.
so true. And it's especially with social media for younger, for anybody. I mean, I shouldn't say younger. I just make a choice to do what I do and do my thing and be silly. A lot of my posts, I mean, they're really human because
Hmm.
part of
Hmm.
being human is being silly and being, in joy and laughter. And I see so much sort of messaging, like it's got to be this message,
Yeah,
message, message, message. I'm like, where's the human behind the message here?
right. Yes, exactly. I'm partly dyslexic, so especially when I'm around my kids, I will take words and kind of recreate them. And it's like, do you mean this? Yeah, yeah. And it's like, and I say something completely wrong, and they know it by now. Oh yeah, mom. And then everybody will laugh, because it's like I used to feel an idiot, right? And
Yeah,
now it's
yeah,
just that it's just who I am. I'm going to say some words upside down, inside out, and supercalifragilistic, and it's like it doesn't make me any less of a person. It's just one of the quirks that I have. And that's the thing. If we can embrace those quirks and lighten up, right? Lighten up and don't be so corrective. Or do you mean such and such? Yeah, I got it. And stop trying to make people feel so guilty
yeah,
because they're not doing things up to your expectation. And we've each got our way. Let's embrace a way as long as there's kindness there,
yeah.
caringness there, comes from a place of love. Who cares what the delivery is?
I love whimsical, and part of the word weird, there is a little bit of whimsy in that word,
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
it is a silly word. And if we asked everybody who listened to your episodes what they thought weird was,
Hmm. Hmm.
everybody would say something different.
Yes.
But I bet you if we asked one person at a time and they said, I think this is weird, everybody would be like, oh, me too. And guess
Yes.
what? That's connection right
Yes.
there. It's connection
Yes.
with humanity. The stuff that we think is weird or that we do is weird and other people do it too. that is our greatest connection to one another. And
Right.
so, what if weird isn't weird? What if weird is a way of being together?
Yes. It's a release, it's a connective, it's an uplifter. I mean, yeah, you do have the weird,
Not
like,
weird,
yeah,
like
yeah,
not safe.
there's that, ooh, ringing some danger bell weirds. Yes, there is that. But when people are just kind of different, and they're weirdly different in a positive way, it is time for you to just take away the judgment and just look at them and go, they're happy. So if their weirdness makes them happy, where's the weirdness in me that I need to let out? Why
And
am I
and
so
you
serious?
you just made me think of something too. When Lady Gaga was wearing her meat dresses and stuff, and then all of a sudden she was looking like her glamorous, beautiful self.
Yeah.
I had a theory and it was proved right. I'm like, she didn't have to dress that way anymore because she was
No.
seen and she
Yes.
belonged. And
Yes.
I think self-expression
Mm.
is all great. And this goes back to the tattoo. It was like, see me, see
Mm.
me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, and that was like, see my insides. And
Right.
so again, self-expression is really great when people are doing it because they love it. But when they're doing it as armor because
Mm.
they're afraid to be seen or they won't let themselves be seen. It's something to explore within ourselves. Or if you're doing it and then you notice, I don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
That
Yeah.
could be
I mean, don't be the. I actually just interviewed the guy from Whoop. There it is again from the Geico commercial, the Whoop song from the 90s. And I was expecting us to kind of talk about hip hop. And he said, look, our song was a one-hit wonder. It's still being used in movies. It's been used in the commercials. It's 20 years later. It's still being referred to. It's still bringing joy.
that.
And he
Yeah.
said, I'm very proud of that, but I'm also proud of the path it took me on. So I'm not Whoop. Whoop is something that we did, and it set a path for me to become who I am now. Where the problem is that we all have a highlight in life, and we think, okay, I got attention during that highlight. I need to stay there. And if you don't evolve and you don't change, you become a has-been rather than the
Yeah.
highlight,
Or
right?
or your vertebrae collapses on
Yes.
going down your spine and you're
Yeah.
not a marathoner anymore. So
Right.
it's
Yes.
the one. What do you do when the one thing you think makes you you is gone?
Yes.
Syndrome.
Yes. And that, I called that the cosmic two before because you haven't paid attention to the little signs along the way, and the universe goes, whack, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And, everybody, oh, what can I do? I cannot be that anymore. No. What else can you be? It's telling you, you've been there, done that. You're now meant to be something else. Explore, explore, because there's so much more of you than just that.
But man, it can be a really
Of course it can be.
painful
It can be. But again, that pain is, I mean, my
process.
daughter is, as I said, has this baby and they're up all night and this, that, etc. And she said, Mum, how did you do it with three kids? Get them to school, get up with the baby all night. And I said, I tell you something, I don't remember. Your body has a way of getting you through the process, and then you did it, but you don't
Yeah,
remember that anymore because you
yeah,
moved on. There's different challenges that you're going to face, right?
so true.
Tune into your emotions. Your emotions are an indication of where you're at, but don't become emotional about them.
Yep, yep. Allow them, acknowledge them, and
Embrace them,
watch
hug
them
them.
go away.
Yeah. Sometimes, I have an artist on right now, and bless her heart, her father died today, and it's so sad for her. But she's just written a song, Hug 1 million times. And it's, everybody coming out of COVID, all we want to do is just get your arms around somebody,
I,
perfect stranger, I don't care, I need to hug,
I
right?
know, I
And
know.
it's like, imagine what we would do if we all just got up and said, I need a hug, and just hug each other. Who cares what casing we come in? Black, white, yellow, polka dot, pink, alien, not alien, just simply hug each other, heart to heart, feeling somebody else's heart. Wouldn't it make us feel so much better? Why don't we do the things that make us feel better? Oh, it's politically incorrect. No, there's nothing wrong with the hug. Nothing wrong with a hug.
Nothing. I agree.
So the weirdness taking A to Z, and you've got all the different the chapters in there that taking it through it all. The main thing is having people embrace, don't judge yourself for being weird. Being weird is okay. Be wondrous, be exploratory, be integrative, be adventurous. Just be willing to live life on your terms, in all the glorious you, with all the flaws that you have. Just live life. Because in the end, that's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah, and be a human being. You
Yes,
can't be anything
emphasis
else.
on the being.
Can't be anything else.
No. What are we here for? We're here to have that experience. Could you imagine if it was all just kumbaya and la-di-da all the way through without any experiences? How dull would it be? I mean, you
Yeah,
can look back on yourself that time with the addict boyfriend, with the, with the vertebrae, with having to redefine yourself and having to rediscover yourself. And anytime you face something today and you go, how can I face this? Just look back over your
that's
shoulder. Oh my
exactly
God, this is
it.
nothing compared to what I've been through, right? I've got this.
Yes, exactly. And that actually helped me through the pandemic a lot
Yeah.
because a lot of people had not gone through anything. Well, we had not gone through anything, but a lot of people had never gone through a period of their lives where it drastically changed them.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think people will be able to refer back to
Yeah.
this time and be like, I got through that. This
Yes.
is, I can get through this.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. And the thing is that it wasn't just one person being lost in
Right.
the wind, it was the collectiveness of, and the conversation now is how did you get through it? What did you do? Because we're coming out the other side now.
Yeah.
And it's that we don't want to go back to normal. Normal was dysfunctional and it didn't work. There's a new norm that we're setting out for ourselves now. And, I think one of the biggest things for us to learn from it was about collectiveness,
Yeah.
in kindness and caring and loving, of being there for one another. And that in numbers, coming together in the same loving vibration, just look how empowering we really are.
So
We're
true.
awesome in our flawsomeness.
In our weirdness.
Yes, yes, yes. And, it's, the LGBT community, transgressors and things like this. I mean, you know, they go over the top sometimes with the weirdness, and you just love them for it because they're just being exuberant in that expression. Sometimes it can be hiding something, but sometimes it's to say, I don't care what your opinion is. I am this wonderful person. And you can, as I say, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm somebody's strong cup of black coffee. You can like me or dislike me. I won't be offended,
Right.
right?
Right.
There's room for somebody everywhere,
I agree.
right?
So much.
So I also, let's look at the 60s and the fashion. The 70s, we went a bit wrong. The 80s, we went neon. 90s, we went dark. I want to see people step into color and exuberance and crazy clothing and fabrics and cloth, etc. Because the way you dress and the way you present yourself is also very, very much the way people are going to perceive you, right? Because it's that canvas. And I know your T-shirt is your logo. Can you show us?
Yes.
Neat, neat, very, very neat.
And I do love colors. And I
Yeah.
used to only wear black to match my angst.
Yes.
Now I do wear a lot of colors.
Yeah, but we had to show that logo today.
Yeah,
Um,
you.
don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to constantly be exploring. Don't be afraid to tell your story. Don't be afraid to just be you, because that's all you're meant to be. And that's what makes everybody beautiful, right? So I'm so glad that you've shared your story, that you've come from your own darkness and you were willing to redirect. You were willing to know that you were worthy enough and take that journey to know you're worthy enough. And that just because you can't do that anymore, which, you had with your vertebrae, you had with a few other things. Now the pandemic went and also put a nice closed door on you. Would the book be here without that? Right? So,
No, no, no.
right.
And now it's moving on to share the message
Yeah.
when we reintegrate and we're more together with others to share the message to help people have a way to be able to allow their individuality and allow the individuality of others.
Yes.
That is the next iteration of my journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Permission to be. Really, you're the only person that needs to give yourself permission. But what you're doing is giving them permission to be, to have their own permission.
Right. And also in the context of places where others dictate certain things, giving them the emotional intelligence
Yeah.
to invite individuals that are sort of in that collectiveness,
Mm.
the ability to allow themselves to be themselves.
Yeah. And we've all got a tribe out there that we connect with,
Right.
right? When you step up into that energy, you will find that tribe. You will
Always.
find those people. Oh, I've suddenly got an earring going down my boob. Okay.
Oops, there it is.
Oops, there it is. Yes, it's still in my ear, but it was halfway down my boob. Okay. And that's, there are those malfunctions, whether it's dress malfunction or any other kind of malfunction in your life, right? And it's just like, make light of it.
Right.
Don't get hung up on it, right? Because let's face it, if we look at our past, we've been very heavy and very hung up for a long time. It's really good if we could have a good talk with our mind. Let's just lighten things up. Let's just lighten things up, right? I mean, we need that. So the book isn't out yet until June 22nd.
Right around the corner, and it's available for pre-order.
Right. So I've got that right here on your posting. And so people can pre-order it. It's a great gift to self. And I'm always saying, book clubs are great. Everybody reading a book, getting together, and each person's perspective is going to be different. And sharing this perspective is wonderful. I recommend people do podcast clubs as well. Listen to it, have the conversation. What did you get out of it? Because it just expands things completely. But I think this is definitely one of those books where, it's like, oh, I really related to this, or oh, I got to work on that. And then you become each other's support and each other's cheerleader. So, I really do think this is one of those kind of books that
Thank you.
you're coming out of the pandemic, the craziness, the world is still crazy. Read this wonderful, weird A to Z book and just see where you're at and, how you can then be supportive of each other, but also have fun. Step into your weirdness and have fun.
I love that. Thank you, Sarah.
So how do they get hold of you if they want to reach you, and what else you're offering everybody?
Yep, thanks for asking. So I do have a website, weirdgirladventures.com, or Weird Girls Rock. And it's not just for girls, it's all humans. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Shelley Brown, on Instagram at weirdgirladventures.com. Really what I'm offering besides the book is speaking. So I have a upcoming TEDx that's not out yet. I can't tell you more about it yet because the dates should be determined. And I do have several different offerings from a speaking capacity, whether it is a women's organization, a corporation, a convention, or a meeting, several different talks. One is personal growth, one is mindfulness, rock star mindfulness for the skeptics,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is about individuality, and that it's called "It's Not You, It's Me," because it's
Mm-hmm.
so that's more of a leadership type of speaking.
Yeah, and I love, weird is not a label, it's a lifestyle.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's my tagline.
yeah, no, I love it. And
Thank
and
you.
just that again, by you stepping into being you, and you're enough, and you're living life exuberantly, and yes, you're still going to trip over your own toes now and again. It's that's what life is all about. But just that, being your exuberant you are that light that shines out, that draws other people. So keep on shining, keep on letting people know that it's okay to have a past. It is what you do with the gift of the present that will dictate how everything grows tomorrow. And changing that mindset is the first step, isn't it? Because it ignites the heart, soul, and spirit into action. But the
Right.
mind has got to choose that first. If it doesn't choose it, and choose positive living, it's as simple as that. Doesn't mean things aren't negative going to happen to you, but you'll choose to look at what is it here for? What is it here to learn? Instead of like, woe is me. And we've all got that woe is moment. Put your arms around yourself and give yourself a hugging love, right? But again, don't get stuck in the drama.
Yep.
Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
with us
you.
here today, love. It's been a delight having you here. I love everything that you're doing. And as I say, keep on shining it bright because we're in a weird state of being at the present moment. And there's a new canvas in front of us, and we can paint it as we want. So embracing that weirdness, I think, is something that we all need to know because it's not the same old painting anymore, folks. It's a brand new one, and it can be extremely exciting if we allow it to be, right?
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, thank you very much. So, folks, remember, being weird is absolutely wonderful. Stepping into life, integrating yourself, being a participant, just wondrously looking at life and all it can be absolutely exuberant. So, until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.